So I was trying to format this result the other time. You could actually specify that this section should take this amount of text. So let's count how many character should account number take. Of course, we know we're providing 10 character here, but this one, the heading itself is more than 10 character. So you can go ahead and do the count. Say 15 is the character we have here. So we'll need to stretch this one by, I say 15 now, 15. Try to push this one forward. So let's do for account number first, and then we'll do for the rest. So I need to introduce you to a function, or it's a member function for a string, just like the Z fill. So what we are trying to do now is to fill with character, before or after. In this case, we'll do it after. So after this, we want to fill with spaces and stop here. So we know that we want to make it 15 size. I want to keep the value of each of the account number, the account name, and the balance in separate variables so that I can print it easily. So I'll say ACC number, then I have it as A. I want to use a member function that allows me to create SS space by the left, right, and center. But in this case, we are concerned about creating SS space in the right. So to do that, since this A is a string, you have access to trigger a member function, and that is called rjust. So once you do that, you can then specify how many character you want to do that for and what kind of character you want to use. So number is 15 and the character I want to use is just space. Instead of me just dumping A here, I will just dump account number here. The next one is account name. I will also count the number of character for the account name. So let's say 15 as well. So I'll come here, I will do the same thing. I will say ACC underscore name. Remember that I'm creating this variable so that I can make it easy on myself to do this stuff. So since this one is what is carrying the account name, and this should be returning a string, you can do rjustify. Again, you can convert it to string so that you can have easy access. We're also using 15 for it as well. So this whole thing is inside account name. So I can present account name here. Finally, we have the balance. You know that the balance is number. So the balance is number. Again, I can convert it to string. So I'll come here and do ACC balance is equal to, this one will be very convenient for me to convert to string because this is a number. So I can convert it to string because I want to do string manipulation for it. So I convert it to string like this. Now that it's a string, I can then do, this time around, I'll use ljustify, ljust. So I can use 7, but you can increase this number because what if you load, a value that is very large, like 10 million or something, but just for the experimental sake, we're just using 7. So I put this part here and look at what I've just done. The reason I create a separate variable for here is, imagine I have to put all these things inside here. This would look so clumsy, or this would look so very busy. That's why I created a separate variable so that I can do all my manipulation outside here and I put it here. So let's go ahead and run it again and see what we have this time around. The right justify puts the character in the right. So we need to change it. So which one is this? This is for the R, so we use L. So the same thing to this account name. The account name is also using rjustify. So ljustify, not really R. Now look at the balance. The balance is supposed to be rjustify so as to justify to the right. So these are our results, guys. This is what we have. So this is working well. Remember, guys, I just added space. You can add any character. There's ljustify, rjustify, and center. So you can see that the reason why this one is colored is because it knows that this is a string. So you can also make sure this one is colored by making sure that whatever is coming here is treated as a string. So it will make it colored like this. I'm going to show you the last one, which is called center. So if I have hello, so you could actually do hello and say center this hello with 20 characters, but at the left and right hand side, center it with asterisk. Okay, so now it's running the code. So what center does, like I said, is that it provides a way for you to specify character before and after the string, and you can specify how long those character is. This is the method that we use to provide this, but we didn't use center. I just needed to show you the center. So you could do, let's repeat the left. So if you want to do left, that's L justify, but you just do just. And then you have the same thing, but this time around it starts in the beginning, and then you have asterisk at the forward. Remember, the reason why it's showing asterisk is because asterisk is what we want to show, but you can always put space or something. In this case, the demo I did for you guys was space that we use. And finally, you can then use R just. So in the demo we just used only L and R. There was no need for us to use center, and that's why we didn't use center. What we're going to do now is how to make deposits. Deposit and withdrawal are kind of birds of the same feather. One is doing addition and one is doing subtraction. So you can either write a function to do both of them separately, or you create a function that will automatically have a switch and say, hey, this is a transaction I want to debit or credit. I will do those three scenarios. Look at the scenarios, guys. The first scenario is to create a function to say deposit, another function to say withdrawal. Then there's another function which is standing on its own. The name will just be transact. Then you can say, what kind of transaction do I want to make? Is it deposit or is it withdrawal? So for starters, let's create individual function. That will be a bonus at the end of the class we're going to add. So let's create deposit. So as usual, we have our def and we'll say deposit. You have your account. When you are depositing money into somebody's account, what are the parameters that you need? You need the account number of the person and the amount. First of all, you need to be able to get the account details. Remember our structure. So let me put more information here and say 001. And that's we're creating a fake data, guys. This allows you to be able to visualize what's happening in your dictionary. So this is like the second account, and this person is called Mike. And let's say the balance of this one is 5,000 and this is 2,000. And what we're trying to do here is that we need to first be able to get these details. Let's assume this is the one we want to deposit. So you need to be able to get by the key. And the good thing about this is that we have the key here. The account number is the key. So you already know how to retrieve this part of the code. So what I want to do now is that we want to get the balance. I need to know the current balance so that I can plus it with the new balance. So what I will do here, I will say current balance is equal to. So I want to get this value. So is equal to, I already know that is the account. Then the next thing, how do I get to this part? I use my bracket, and then have the account number like this. So account number will sit in here. And remember that once you have this is also a dictionary, meaning you can go another deep and get the balance. So once you do this again, you can then do balance. And again, you can do a check to know if the account exists or not, so that you can flag the user. We are going to write that function later. What we've been able to do is to get what? The balance. So we have the current balance. We then say, what is now our new balance? So our new balance will then be equal to our current balance plus our amount that will be added here. That's this one plus this will give you the new balance. So now that you have the new balance, what do you do to it? You save it into where? Into this place here. So you can save that by having the whole of this information, which is here like this. We already have that, and equate it to your new balance. So this is me writing it in a long form. Of course, I can easily write this in a shorthand method, but I think this is very explicit and is clear enough for everybody to understand. Now, how do we check if an account exists? I want it to be an independent function that will just sit by itself to see if an account exists. So one of the things that we want to use to do this is to actually check if a key exists, because account number is a key inside the account dictionary. So let's do our check. Account exists. Yeah. So first of all, you'll pass your dictionary that you have here. And the next thing is you then have to specify the account number, because that's what you will be passing. Then let's go and do the check. We've not been returning anything with our function. Our function has just been kind of flat, and I want to make it more intuitive to return something. So what I want it to return is bool, because account exists. I want it to say true or false, so that I can make it in a conditional statement when using it to either give some specific error message or not. So you say if account in, what are you checking in account? So this is a way to do it, guys. If this exists in this is how to do it. So if it's available, what will happen here? This part of the code is true. Say return true. Then else return false. So let's use this to check if we can deposit or not. So how do we use this in our code now? You can see that we are still dealing with new functions. We've not even gone to the code to actually make use of it. And that's the beauty of functions and isolating every other part of your system to make sure that everything are just working the way they're supposed to work. So here I will say if I have a function, account exists. So account exists accept two parameters. It accepts account and account number. So if those values are there, if it exists, what should happen? I can then indent all these guys, meaning that's the only time you do all these guys, only when it exists. We can then say else, and then we'll print account number so not found. We've not implemented the deposit, so we have to go back and add the deposit. We did not implement deposit, so I have to come here. Deposit is going to be under 2, because print is going to be last. Kind of print is always pushed to the bottom. So I have 2, I've changed print to 3, and I've changed exit to 4. Then I'm going to create this make deposit. Since we're going to finish everything today, let's just create all the other one. Make deposit, make withdrawal. So let's now start correcting this part to fit in that one. So number 1 is working well. So I will change this to number 4, and the last one should be number 5, so that we can then make room for number 2. So let's go and create number 2 now. I will just copy what I have there and call this option 2. Make deposit. Okay, so we want to collect account number. I can just come in here and repeat the same thing. So we then have the account number, accounts first, then the account number, capture amounts to enter. So the amount will then be, remember, we are converted to float. I need to convert it to float, then I change the nomenclature, or rather what it's saying, to amount to credit. Okay, let's quickly run this again. So let's print so that we can see the account to deposit to. So let's deposit to Michael, and the account number is there. Amount to credit, let's say 5,500. So now we've deposited. So yeah, you can say deposit was successful or something. Now that it's finished, you can say your new balance is this. Print and say deposit was successful. Let's print our result and see if we're going to have 5,005 there. So to print, what choice do we enter? We enter 4. So we'll do 4 like that. So you can see our balance, guys. Our balance is showing 5,004. So I need to add more things. So let's add 100 on this, so that let's see if we to enter 5,006. So our account is running pretty well. Where is the next one? Yeah, withdrawal. So obviously, if you can do deposit, you should be able to do withdrawal. It's just to minus the money away from the system. So I will just copy everything in this. I'll just duplicate this and then change the nomenclature. So I will just duplicate all what I have in deposit and say withdraw. Wow. Right. I'll just say withdrawal. So everything is also there. I will check if account exists, and I will get the current balance. The new balance is equal to the current minus what? The amount that is there will give me the current balance, so that the new balance will not be this. I will now say withdraw was successful. Your new balance is this. Okay. So now you see this one we are printing every time. Print account number not found. Another thing you should notice when you're developing software or when you're writing program is try to find a way to avoid repeating yourself. It's still okay if you are doing it like this at your level, but once you start growing in programming, when your programming skills start increasing, you will then need to avoid repeating yourself. So in this case, do you see that we've repeated ourselves here in line 56 and in line 64? We've repeated ourselves exactly, no difference. So balance should be easy to check. What do you guys think? Should we do it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's check balance. Check balance. When you're checking balance, you need two things: the account and the account number. You don't need to add any amounts there. You're just checking balance. And you can make this let me also make this fun by returning the balance. I want to make this fun. Instead of all this thing we've been doing is just to display information to the user. At this point, we return a boolean. Obviously, when you're checking balance, you want to return a float. Okay, this is the simplest thing you can do. I just say the account number, and the balance. That's all. If somebody entered the wrong account, you can then do something like this to do a check using this method, since we've written that function. So you can do a check. Once it's a valid account, it will then proceed to return all this: the account number, then balance. Once it's valid. If it is not valid, you can then print this account not found. So you can see that we are repeating ourselves so many times now. We're still going ahead to do account not found. So we've printed account not found 3 times. Here. You see the solution that we're going to implement to this way to announce to the user that what they are trying to do does not exist. So we now have check balance. So let's add one more thing to it, because now check balance will then be 4, while print will be 5, exit will be 6. So I'll copy exactly what we have here so that I can do option 3. Option 3 is make withdrawal. Okay, so enter the account number here, then account to debit. So instead of saying this, so I'll say withdrawal, and all these parameters intact. Okay, the next one for number 4 is to check balance. So I'll just duplicate this and say choice. If choice is 4, I'll just say check account balance. Account number alone. So this is supposed to be all this what I'm saying account name. Yeah, actually supposed to be account number. So starting from choice 2, I'm changing it to account number. So instead of it saying account name, so they're supposed to be called account number. So choice 4 is not withdrawal, it's called check balance. So you need this, and then you need the account number to check the balance. Okay.
How do you correct everything at once?
Okay, so I use Control D. So let me show you again. That's a little bit advanced. So I just make sure that I'm highlighting on what I want, right? And then I press Control D. So once you press Control D, it will select the next similar text. So you press it again, it select the next one. You press it again, it select the next one. You keep pressing it until you've captured all the ones you want. I didn't want to capture this first one, so I watch it and I make sure that it's not, highlighted. Now that everything is there, notice multiple cursor. I have my multiple cursor in place and I can start doing anything I want with it. Okay, we didn't print anything in our balance, so we just return it. So we need to be able to print. So we need to print. So I can say balance is equal to this so that I can print here. Print our balance by saying, I didn't want to print inside this function. Of course, we can print here, but I just want to return it, just to create some dynamism so that our program will serve different purpose. And then I can say so let's give it a test, guys. So let's run. The first thing we want to do is create account. So James, create another account. Michael, create another account. Jane, let's print statement of account, statement for everybody. So we'll have these 3 accounts. So we have James, Michael, and Jane. Let's credit Michael. Credit is 2, and then account number 6,000. So to print, let's check balance for Michael now. To check balance, we use 4. So we'll type in 4 there, and we enter the account number. And what did it say? Yeah, account balance for so is 6,000. So correct. So let's do a withdrawal. Withdrawal is 3. So we enter 3, and it says what account number do we want to withdraw from, and how much do you want to withdraw. Let's say 1,52543, like this, 1543 dot. Let's put some cents. So let's say enter. Now, after doing that, withdrawal was successful. Your new balance is 4456, blah, 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 blah. Let's print statement and see how this shows in our statement. That's 5. So we'll do 5 and we run it, and we have this looking like this. Let's remove this print. If I remove this print, where can I add it? I can add it at the point where I'm checking if the account exists, so that I don't need to worry anymore. What I just need to worry about is once you use the function and it does not exist, the print is going to come to the console. So I'm going to copy this one and apply it to the function. So this is the function. So anytime that it is false, which is this point, before it terminates, first print this error first. So when it does not exist, say it does not exist, let everybody know, then you terminate, so that I won't need to be manually terminating. I will just focus on if it exists. So that here it's just if it exists, go and do this. If it exists, go and do this. So the system is self-sufficient, that it handles at the point if it does not exist. So I've reduced my worry to just making sure that if account exists, you should, do this. Well, in this case, you might need to return 0 if it does not, because of the fact that, or else it will just return none. So just return 0 here. Okay, so how do you then combine this guy? Because there's a lot of repetition going on here. If you notice, withdraw and deposit, the only thing that is different between withdraw and deposit is just plus and minus. So why can't we just create a function and put that in consideration and pass plus or minus as an argument? When I mean plus or minus as argument, like the type of operation to perform as an argument. So I'm going to leave these guys intact and create another function, and I'm going to call it, let me put it on top. Def, I'll say do transaction. So what are the parameters that we need to pass? So just look at it very well. Of course, we're going to pass, by default, we're going to pass almost similar arguments first. So all this one says no brainer. Let me first put it inside here. We are passing the parameter. So then the one that is the flag that decides if you need to run a deposit or a credit. So you need to create a kind of a flag or an option that says what you are running. Either it's a credit or deposit. So I'll say operation. So we set this one as operation. Even though I don't want people to be able to, because when you're implementing this now, when you're using it, operation, what will I put in operation? So you are now worried about the implementation, because the person can say credit or credits, or you understand, you can type anything as the option. When you are creating a function, your function should be solid, should be in a way that is not shaking at all. People know what to put inside. Because me, by saying float, we know that we're going to put a float. We know we're going to put a string. We know we're going to put a dictionary. Here, I don't know what we're going to put, because I can decide credits can have S. Credits can be small letter and what have you. So just for the sake of to make this class fast, let me just accept that we're going to be putting credit with a small letter and debit with a small letter. So I accept that and we move on to the implementation. So I'm just going to copy all this code directly and then make the change based on some conditions. Now, if I'm here, I said I check the existence of the account. Now, this is where the trouble comes in to decide if I'm adding or subtracting. Then where am I going to check? I need to check inside here. So if operation is equal to credit, so that's when I'm using plus. Else, so you just do your minus there. Now that we've been able to do this, I will then say, because this is also saying deposit and withdrawal, so I need to be able to report what the user is doing here. You can either put this as an operation here, so therefore, and say operation was successful, meaning credit was successful or debit was successful. This is dynamic. Of course, you can rewrite it to capture what it is you want to capture. And I can do something and say, so that it's capitalized. Capitalized means that it will start with uppercase, as in the first letter, so that it can, be meaningful. So let's go and make use of it. So I'm just going to call this do trans, so that the last parameter that it needs is the operation. What operation are we performing on it is credit. So this way I was like, if you go and say credit or you type something that is not supposed to be, it will just mess up. This is for intermediate programming, as in what I want to do, but if time permits, I will show you a cleaner way to do this. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing, and instead of us having withdrawal here, I'm going to comment this out and repeat the same thing. And instead of us having credit, I'm going to say debit. And that's all, guys. Imagine the line of code that we've eliminated. So this line of code will not need to be here again. These two guys are not needed anymore. Our code is slimmer. A transaction can handle either credit or debit, and that's what normally happens in your account. Now, for the people that want advanced, this is our next class. Our next class is talking about class. So I'm not going to teach the next class. I'm just going to go ahead and write the code. I'm not teaching the next class. I want to write the code. And the reason is because of this scenario where you have credit. Like I said, this needs to be like a type of operation that you can perform. So I want to create something like that will say type of operation. So, and when you are creating that kind of object, because now we are creating our own implementation. So we create a class, and this is also allowing you to create a kind of control and avoid errors. Because look at this, guys. Look at this, at this part. You can mistakenly do something like this. This breaks your code, though. Hope you know. Because the system will be looking for credits. Because you've mistakenly, this part now is subject to user error. You can mistakenly put the wrong parameter. Now that you know that it's either credit or debit, you can then create enums. Enums allow you to assign fixed value, just like constant. And then say, okay, this one is credit and is denoted by 1. Ignore the number. Debit is denoted by 2. So how do you use your enum? So this is the thing I've introduced, guys. 1, 2, 3, this 4 line of code. How do you use your enum? The next thing we are doing in the next class is class. So don't worry, we're going to be handling class in the next class. That's object-oriented programming. We have our operation here. We can then do that this guy should be able to accept operation type, meaning it makes it easy for you to implement. Let's see how to implement it, guys. This is us creating it all, but in this case we are not checking against credit string, we are checking against credit enumerator value. So how does this operator enumerator value works? So it works this way. So if operation is equal to operation, that's the object here. Note the difference. So let me rename this one to OPR so that it doesn't confuse you guys. So this OPR OPR. Yeah. So if OPR, whatever the value enter, is equal to credit, remember that we have the credit value holding there. So you can do the full operation dot credit. So you can never miss it using this method. If it's equal to credit, you do credit, else you do debit. So how do you then here will just be something else. I would then say message. So message is blank by default. I can say once it's credit, so the message should just say credit. So if it's not, message should just say debit. So that we then need to change how this one will reflect. Then this one then becomes the message here, because this is no ordinary string, guys. This is not a string anymore. This is now a whole class, a whole object. Okay, now that we've done the function, how do we represent this operator in the usage? Quite easy. So you will use this guy. Where is it implemented? So instead of you passing a string, look at the implementation, guys. Operation. So instead of you passing a string like this, you can never go wrong. You say operation dot. You can never go wrong. You can never have an error to say you pick the wrong thing. So it's either credit or debit. So if you go and check this part again, you go ahead and then you can say debit. So this implementation is better than having a string check, like that. So this is advanced. Let's run all the things we've done.